Well, I'm down about Matthew Perry's death.
Of course, we all, it was a bit of a
so
surprise,
young,
I guess.
so young. It was surprising, but of course, we talked earlier about all the things, unfortunately, he was trying to cope with after Vicodin and alcoholism and just a terrible time.
You, Kelly, you've read his book and you watch the show pretty regularly, more than probably anyone else in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true that, I think I read a line, and correct me if I'm wrong, that said Matthew Perry, when he passed at 54, almost half of his life he had been in recovery or rehab facility?
Yes, that is true. He said that in the book.
Okay.
That he was, because he started drinking. He said the first time he drank at like age 16, he's like, oh, this is magic. And he loved everything about it and just sought after it, the rest of his life until, a year and a half ago, where he seems to have, at least in the Diane Sawyer interview, which was only a year ago, almost to the day that he died, and he said that his health was good finally. And that interview, haunting now because he really just did this. This is Sawyer talking about the book.
You start with a thunderclap. Hi, my name is Matthew, although you may know me by another name. My friends call me Maddie, and I should be dead.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
You're on methadone, Xanax, full quart of vodka a day?
55 Vicodin a day.
Jennifer, and she says, we know you were drinking.
Yeah, imagine how scary a moment that was. She was the one that reached out the most. And, I'm really grateful to her for that.
Even when you hear him talk, you can just tell what a toll all those drugs and all that alcohol has taken on his body. And, he says in the interview, in the book, people say, well, just stop doing that to yourself. But impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It was so difficult for him. And he coped with it all the time. And it's just terrible. I think Chris Demm's exactly right that his body just gave out because of all those things he had done to himself, unfortunately. She asked him, how do you want to be remembered?
The best thing about me, bar none, is if somebody comes up to me and says, I can't stop drinking, can you help me? I can say yes and follow up and do it. That's the best thing. And I've said this for a long time. When I die, I don't want friends to be the first thing that's mentioned. I want that to be the first thing that's mentioned. And I'm going to live the rest of my life proving that.
He did say...
Was that the reunion show?
Yeah, I believe that was an interview he did on a stage, a Q&A, promoting the book. And he said that he knows it'll be friends, but what he's proudest of is what he did after Friends, just in the last couple of years, where he tried to help people with alcoholism and those kinds of things. He said that over and over and over again. Alan, you're talking about Matthew Perry. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good morning, guys. He also stated that he spent nearly $7 million on rehab.
That's right.
Goodness.
And, tried time and time again. And he talks about in that book how he would go into a rehab and they'd fly him to a special place in France, or Germany to try and get everything corrected. And he'd be using again, like in the rehab facility.
Yeah.
He would find a way to get drugs into the rehab facility. And he did spend, that's the right number, $7 million on that.
Is this a book, Kelly, you or your wife might revisit?
I think so. Now that he passed.
Memoir?
Yeah, because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And it was so much more than just Friends. He basically dedicated a section of the book to Friends. And he says, as it starts that section, I know you've all been waiting for this, the behind the scenes. And remember when it was going to come out, people were saying, is he going to reveal a bunch of stuff about it? And basically all he said was, we just got along great and the show was wonderful. And when Sawyer asked him about the connection to the cast, he said, this is how it was.
The best way that I can describe it is after the show was over, if one of us bumped into each other, that was it. That was the end of the night. You just
sat with
the person all night long.
I remember that.
And that was it. You apologized to the people you were with, but they had to understand you had met somebody special to you and you were going to talk to that person for the rest of the night. And that's the way...
I'm not laughing, I'm crying because it's so true.
That's the way it works. Yeah, I'm going to cry now.
Good.
That is from the reunion show that they did, 2-3 years ago, a couple of years ago. It was supposed to be during 2020, but the pandemic knocked it back. Do you know that he's a great friend? You love this person, Chris Demm, Hank Azaria, and he were met when they first got to Hollywood and became best friends, great friends. And Hank Azaria said he had his own bout with alcoholism, and Matthew Perry helped him get through it, but no one was able to do the same for Matthew Perry, unfortunately. Dave, we play Shawshank Redemption, and we play Jaws and that kind of thing.
The Titanic.
And we play the Titanic. Do you know this one over here has only seen the Titanic once? What in the world? What in the world?
I know it.
What's going on with this now?
He wears it as a feather in his cap.
Do you know? That is ridiculous.
I know.
Both of them.
Unheard of.
Neither one of them. I only seen it once or twice.
No taste.
What is wrong with
I saw it. I seen it.
Thank you. You ain't seen it enough.
Classless.
You can't appreciate it until you've seen it at least, 3 times at least.
3 to 4.
I was blasé about it.
You can't catch
You can't be blasé about some things.
but not about Titanic. My God.
It's 3 times the movie of a regular movie.
Jeez, of course it is. Now, they were talking about, I was reading an article on Matthew Perry's best episodes of Friends where he was featured. And the one I think it is, my wife and I were talking about this yesterday. There's one where there's a blackout in New York City, and he's stuck in an ATM vestibule with Jill Goodacre. And it's mostly on him. I mean, he's by himself. The other 5 are in the room. And he said when they were shooting that episode, he was just off, and it was an early season, first season episode, and he was near them, and he could hear the audience reacting to their jokes, the other 5, and that's when he knew the show was going to be a hit, Matthew Perry. And I think that's probably, I mean, he's got so many funny and great moments on that show, and it's such an ensemble show, but I think that's my most memorable show for him.
I had no idea that episode was in the first season.
It's like the 8th episode ever.
Wow.
I always feel like Friends is great seasons 1 through 5, and maybe 6, but by 7, 8, 9, and 10, it starts to go downhill a bit.
Yeah.
With a lot of shows, of course, it's like that. But now,
what season is it?
We're in season 25. Wow. A lot of shows by season 25, you start to think, oh, yeah.
The cracks are starting to show.
Just going through the motions. Aging a little bit. Got to bring on that stunt kid like B.B. Shea. Got to bring somebody else in.
Yes.
Try to save it.
Right. The one where nobody wants to be there.
Right. It's a Hail Mary pass. You bring in a youngster. We title
Make him opposite of us. If we like it, he has to hate it.
the cute one. The cute one comes in just for a little bit. Not every show.
Yeah, he's our little Robbie Wrist.
Yeah, he is. Yes, he is. But Uber P1 John says there are no bad seasons of Friends. But I disagree.
Yeah, you two go back and forth
we
on that.
butt heads on that. But
there's neither one of you gives that ground.
No, we won't. I saw him over at Five Guys, and we nearly came to blows over it. There I was, holding the cherry soda.
Thankfully, the sacks of potatoes were between you.
Did you sit on them? Was there a long line?
I will jump over this sack of potatoes, Uber P1 John.
He came pointing.
I will come at you like a spider monkey.
Oh, yeah. He came in pointing his finger. He's like, don't you dare say another bad word about Friends.
Season 10 is quality.
Those
Workers are like, should we call the cops? Don't.
No.
And tell them what?
Yeah. I'll throw potatoes at him. Don't you dare. But I don't think seasons, when it jumps the shark for me, and I don't even, it's still okay. But the first 6, when Monica and Chandler become an item, and then nobody knows it, and they're trying to hide that, I think is brilliant. Once people find out, then they get engaged and married.
It's like any show that does that gives into those romantic, you lose that tension. You lose a Sam and Diane on Cheers. I mean,
but
anytime
that show,
you get
they
those
didn't have to do that. They never had tension. They weren't the couple. It was Ross and Rachel. They just all of a sudden let Monica and Chandler.
It was kind of a misdirection.
Well,
in the writing.
It was. And, they were not planning to go further with that. They were just going to have them sleep together once, and it would always be a little something that would come up. But then they decided to let them get married.
Yeah.
And once they did that, once they became a couple, I think it went downhill. Not maybe necessarily because they became a couple, but it just did. Chandler had to move out from Joey's apartment over.
Oh.
He moved in with Monica, and it wasn't the same to me.
Don't you know this?
Well, it wasn't the same. I mean, of course, because he's engaged.
It just became too incestuous.
I didn't love it. After that. Now, Uber P1 John takes a different tack.
Did everybody get laid on that show during the course of the 10 years?
Not by each other, but yes.
Even the blonde?
Oh, yeah. She had, in fact, she got married at the end.
Oh.
She got married near the very end of the show to Paul Rudd.
Oh.
Paul Rudd became her boyfriend, fiance, husband. He's in like 10 or 12 episodes. And, Rudd said on the final episode of Friends, everyone's very, very emotional. Well, he's in it. And so he's standing there like I'm not part of this, but yet I'm next to this. It was an awkward position for him.
Sure.
Trip, you're talking about Matthew Perry and some of his movie works. Go ahead.
Yeah, never forget The Whole 9 Yards. He was brilliant in that.
I have not seen that. Did you like it?
I love that movie.
He's actually very good in it.
Great movie.
Yeah, he had comic timing. That's
no doubt.
And you could see it on display there. It's a great cast in that movie. He and Bruce Willis are a great cast.
He, in the book, said when he did, he had done other movies, Fools Rush In, which was, made some money, and he had done some that were hits. When he did The Whole 9 Yards, he's like, oh, I've really made it now. And he was standing on a balcony. Bruce Willis threw a huge party, I believe at Bruce Willis's house. And they're standing out on the balcony, drinking, looking over the lights of L.A., and Bruce Willis said, welcome to the big time. And that's really true. Yeah. And look at what's happened to poor Bruce Willis. Those two have, now Perry's passed, so young. Thank you very much, Trip. And poor Bruce Willis has that Alzheimer's-like disease.
Yeah, last I read, I think they updated. They said he's really not even speaking anymore.
I know, it's awful. It really is. But anyway, just really sad.
My condolences.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And it's a, I think he was probably I think he and Aniston are the two favorite friends. Although it's a huge ensemble piece, I think
She's
Aniston,
the one that really skyrocketed, though.
big time. Yeah, but he made a lot of movies. In reading his obituary, I was like, wow, he's done a lot. He really if it weren't for the addiction issues, and another thing about one of the movies he made was with Elizabeth Hurley, and I forget the name of that one. It's got a woman's name in it. Nonetheless, they made the movie. He said he was so messed up with drugs at that time, painkillers, that he messed up every scene. He was late for every show, every taping. And when it was done, and she had a miserable experience. They were awful together. And so when it was done, he volunteered to do all the press. The actors don't like to do all the press. And he said, I did every single show. I did everything that was possible. I was on everything. And ran around the whole country trying to do it. And it was miserable. And the movie came out and tanked anyway. And then he sent her a letter of apology saying, because she couldn't get as big a roles after that because it was such a flop. And he said it was totally my fault. He said the script was fine and everything was fine. She was great, but he was terrible the entire time. It's just how it is sometimes,
They can't blame the failure of the movie just on him.
I don't think. Well, he did. He blamed himself.
Well, that may be.
But he said that the timing was so bad they had to cut scenes because he wasn't available for a month. He had to go to rehab. It was awful. At one point when he was getting ready to marry Courtney Cox on Friends, he had to go to rehab and they would just bring him in for the scenes and right back to rehab, and bring him in for the scenes and right back to rehab. It was a terrible tragedy.
No fun.
No, it's awful. And of course, I think he just abused his body.
Do you watch the show differently now? Do you think?
For myself, a little, yeah. I think so. It's sad. It's got a sad tinge to it. Because you hear all those funny things he said, all the comic timing that he had, and I think he was the funniest character. He was made to be the funny character. In fact, Matthew Perry was the only actor that the writers allowed into the writing room to help with scripts, and they asked his opinion on which way to go with certain things. And it was because he had the most comic chops. The others were good actors, but he was much more about comedy, and so he could do that kind of thing.
You're not on social media, Kelly, but I'm sure Dave and Biggie have seen this. When the news broke, people started putting Friends memes up on social media. One of them was an empty sofa, the sofa in front of the water fountain.
Right.
And then there was one where I guess the Joey character is sitting in a recliner looking over at the other one, which is empty.
Oh,
yeah.
That's nice. So anyway, may he rest, Matthew Perry. It's not unexpected, honestly. Because of the way he lived, but yet also a shock at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing. Here's the totally switching gears now, a Halloween story. And I think that Chris Demm will agree with this. How many years have I said, watch out for your kids' candy being tainted. Watch out for razor blades in the bag of candy.
Every year you've had a microphone in front of your face.
Every year I've had. What season are we on right now?
25.
25. Has it grown tired and old? Yes. Has it? Okay. Has it gone downhill in the later season? Yes.
Yes.
I keep saying, watch out for your candy because someone will taint your candy. However,
and don't forget the new corollary is people will slip drugs into your kids' candy.
That's it. Yeah, drugs into the candy, OxyContin,
sprinkle it with a little
fentanyl, little meth, whatever it might be. We have a University of Delaware sociology professor, And he's speaking out on this, and he said, by golly, I've done the research on this, and here's what I have found.
I've followed media coverage of reports of tainted candy going back to 1958, and I cannot find a single case of a child who's been killed or seriously hurt by a contaminated treat picked up in the trick-or-treating. This is a contemporary legend.
My picture was over his shoulder as he was saying that. This monster is the only person who's still perpetuating this myth.
Halloween is supposed to be scary, and we've kind of stopped believing in ghosts and goblins for the most part, but we believe in criminals. So we tell ourselves scary stories about criminals doing things on Halloween. In fact, there are whole movies about that. You know, I'm not saying that this has never happened or it couldn't happen. If people want to check their children's treats, I think that's fine. I don't think it's necessary.
He literally saying, don't worry about checking your kids. Okay. You don't have to anymore.
I thought that we had talked about that maybe 10 years ago, season 15, when...
That's really where it jumped the shark, don't you think?
Well, that's when Biggie and I started sleeping together.
15. It was supposed to be a one-off. We kept it going.
Remember we woke up in the bed together?
Oh, I remember. That was, by the way, that was the longest reaction Friends ever got, when Monica and Chandler are in the bed.
Because of the applause?
Yeah, the applause kept going and the laughs kept going. But because he pops his head up, and she's in bed, and you wouldn't know. But they're in London, and she's in bed, and Ross comes in and starts talking to her. Then he leaves, and Chandler pops his head up and says, do you think they knew? And that kind of thing.
Yeah. And the season ended?
I know the season ended. Well, that was the last episode because the season ends with Ross saying the wrong name at the wedding. He says Rachel's name instead of Emily's. That's probably season, I want to say 5.
Okay.
The ender of season 5. Uber P1 John would let me know. That's what I love that episode too. But anyhow, in season 15 of this show.
Yeah, I thought that either we had done the research or perhaps fact checker Rusty had found that the only instance of someone actually being either poisoned or damaged or injured by candy, it was a father to his own child.
To his own child. Yeah, that's right.
It's
that's
not
true.
A stranger doing it to your kids.
This professor is probably not counting that one if he found it. But he's done the research back to 1958 and found no cases of that. Now, am I going to bloviate it about it again tomorrow and next year? Sure. Sure.
And, with Halloween falling the way it is this year, it seems like it's a week-long thing because our company, our radio station Trunk or Treat was last week.
Yes.
We did the Halloween, they call it, I forget what they call it, like we did like a street party yesterday on our block.
Right.
So all the kids put on their costumes at 3 p.m.
Yesterday.
Yeah. So all the parents can talk to one another and the kids can dress up in the daylight and walk in the sidewalks. And then you got to do it again tomorrow night. So it's like 3 Halloween.
Yeah, so tomorrow. Maybe that's how they start trying to build it in now because you want the parties on Saturday
I know
night.
the young adults went out Fridays and
Of course,
Saturdays.
Saturday night's the parties, going into Halloween.
Right.
There's another.
And not so young adults.
Right, sure. I was out. Oh, boy, I got to put on my man in the yellow hat costume.
Seen it.
Yeah, again this year.
Your wife was good enough to send out pictures. Which was very, very...
Yes.
Because I was half in the bag, but it was pretty funny.
You engaged way more than I expected.
Me too, Dave. I was really shocked. My wife said, my wife goes, Dave's J.R. Ewing. I was like, he is? But without a costume. Yeah. He's just having bourbon and branch.
And that's just Dave.
And maybe the most Dave comment of all. Your wife, A-Train, sent us all a photograph of you, Kelly, and our good friend Lisa Lanier as the aging Hooters waitress.
Yeah, the
impressive.
Offensive.
It's breathtaking.
Celebrate that on your billboards, Lisa Lanier.
I said, put your boobs out on a billboard.
And she's also unshaved.
Oh, yeah. I saw.
Oh, yeah.
Believe me, that costume.
Below the belt, she is
I said, aren't there children at this party? She goes, oh, the heck with the kid. Whatever.
It's Halloween.
This is Halloween. We have some fun. I said, I'm offended.
But Dave, a couple of bourbons in, says, turn the camera around, sweetie. Let's see you.
I wanted to see her.
Let me see what you work.
She's taking pictures of everybody else.
Come on, darling.
Let's go.
I want a selfie.
Chop, chop.
She did. Yeah. She put it out there for
you were in there.
Yeah, well, yes, I was.
Those are the rules.
As the man with the yellow hat and my wife, the
crop him out.